Nikola Tesla never truly belonged to this world. And today, we're about to uncover why. The day science accepts non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in a decade than it has in all previous centuries. Nikola Tesla. Have you ever felt that something or someone was trying to reach you without speaking a single word? A presence, an idea, a calling. Tesla felt this from a very young age. While the world was still fumbling between candles and coal, he saw lights. He saw frequencies. He saw the invisible, but no one understood. At school, they called it delirium. At home, they said it was weakness, and doctors thought he was insane. But Tesla didn't run from it. He dove in, because there was something in those visions, something pulsing stronger than any truth taught in books. He was born on a stormy night. Lightning slashed the sky like blades. The midwife hesitated. She said it was a bad omen. But his mother answered, "No, he will be a child of light." And she was right. Tesla was born with a rare gift, the ability to visualize inventions fully formed before he ever put pen to paper. He saw mechanisms, gears, structures, as if they already existed in another dimension. And maybe they did. Because Tesla wasn't creating, he was tuning in. While others thought with logic, Tesla thought with energy. He thought with vibration. He thought with consciousness. From a very early age, he said something few could grasp. My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. At 12 years old, he had his first mystical experience. He was alone, beside a river, when time stopped. The sound of water vanished. The trees stood still. The wind fell silent. And an idea descended, not like a thought, but like a certainty. Everything in the universe is frequency. Thoughts, feelings, matter, everything vibrates. Tesla understood it right then, without reading, without studying, by feeling. And that moment never left him, but with extraordinary gifts came extraordinary pains. Tesla wasn't just sensitive to energy. He was pierced by it. The ticking of a clock made him tremble. The flicker of a candle could cause physical pain. And a simple conversation in a noisy room was torture. Living between worlds, he felt like a stranger on Earth. Lonely, misunderstood, out of place. But it was precisely in that space of inner silence where the greatest revelations happened. Tesla learned to listen to what no one else could hear. At night, when the world was asleep, he walked alone beneath the starry sky. And there, among constellations and thoughts, he asked the universe questions. And the universe answered, not with words, but with symbols, images, sudden inspirations. It was as if an invisible library existed, and Tesla held the key. But this key was not intellectual. It was vibrational. While the world sought answers through effort, Tesla accessed them through state of presence, state of connection, state of surrender. And here lies the first great secret of Tesla's mind. He didn't invent, he translated. He translated the invisible into form, the idea into machine, energy into solution. But that was only possible because he understood something many still ignore. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, pause for a moment and feel this isn't just a pretty phrase, it's a password, an access code. Tesla didn't leave formulas just for engineers. He left spiritual maps disguised as science. And if you can see beyond the words, maybe you'll start to catch it too. Because what he discovered wasn't just about electricity. It was about consciousness. And that consciousness is available to you as well. But to access it, you have to do what he did. Silence, connect, feel. But the world doesn't like what it can't understand. And Tesla was almost incomprehensible. He spoke of free energy, of wireless transmission, of engines running without fuel. He said the air was full of power, that the entire Earth was a living conductor of energy. People laughed. The newspapers mocked him. The scientists of his time dismissed him. But behind the ridicule, there was fear. Because Tesla wasn't just proposing inventions. He was threatening the system. Imagine a world with no electricity bills, no dependence on oil, no wires, no limits, no centralized control. That's what he saw. That's what he sketched. That's what he offered. But those who profit from scarcity don't want abundance to spread. Tesla challenged invisible empires and paid the price with silence, isolation, and erasure. While Edison won awards, Tesla went hungry. But it was precisely in that space of inner silence where the greatest revelations happened. Tesla learned to listen to what no one else could hear. At night, when the world was asleep, he walked alone beneath the starry sky. And there, among constellations and thoughts, he asked the universe questions. And the universe answered, not with words, but with symbols, images, sudden inspirations. It was as if an invisible library existed, and Tesla held the key. But this key was not intellectual. It was vibrational. While the world sought answers through effort, Tesla accessed them through state. State of presence, state of connection, state of surrender. And here lies the first great secret of Tesla's mind. He didn't invent, he translated. He translated the invisible into form, the idea into machine, energy into solution. But that was only possible because he understood something many still ignore. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, pause for a moment and feel. This isn't just a pretty phrase. It's a password, an access code. Tesla didn't leave formulas just for engineers. He left spiritual maps disguised as science. And if you can see beyond the words, maybe you'll start to catch it too, because what he discovered wasn't just about electricity. It was about consciousness, and that consciousness is available to you as well. But to access it, you have to do what he did. Silence, connect, feel. But the world doesn't like what it can't understand, and Tesla was almost incomprehensible. He spoke of free energy, of wireless transmission, of engines running without fuel. He said the air was full of power, that the entire Earth was a living conductor of energy. People laughed. The newspapers mocked him. The scientists of his time dismissed him. But behind the ridicule, there was fear. Because Tesla wasn't just proposing inventions. He was threatening the system. Imagine a world with no electricity bills, no dependence on oil, no wires, no limits, no centralized control. That's what he saw. That's what he sketched. That's what he offered. But those who profit from scarcity don't want abundance to spread. Tesla challenged invisible empires and paid the price with silence, isolation, and erasure. While Edison won awards, Tesla went hungry. The world wanted control. Tesla offered freedom. The world wanted logic. Tesla offered resonance. And maybe that's why you're hearing this right now. Because somehow you feel there's something beyond the obvious, beyond what you are taught, beyond what they repeat every single day. Maybe you've already caught a glimpse too, a whisper, an idea, an intuition that came out of nowhere. And perhaps, like Tesla, you've also been called to remember. You're not here just to repeat the world. You're here to recreate it. They say Nikola Tesla never really belonged to this world. And maybe he knew that too. Since he was a child, he saw lights no one else could see, had visions while wide awake, heard inner voices telling him what to do, and he obeyed. To many, it was madness. To him, it was clarity. Tesla saw matter as vibration, saw bodies as antennas, and thought as the most powerful transmitter there is. But try explaining that in a world that revolves around the tangible. What can be weighed, measured, sold. Tesla didn't fit the mold. And every time someone doesn't fit, the system tries to cut them out. They called him eccentric, then delusional, finally irrelevant. But he never stopped creating, never stopped serving what cannot be seen. Because he knew matter is just the surface. What truly creates the world is invisible. And this is where Tesla's third great secret comes in. True creation doesn't come from intellect. It comes from connection. That's why he cultivated silence. That's why he went days without contact. That's why he rejected parties, awards, interviews. He knew the mind can only hear. When the noise stops, he knew inspiration doesn't come from effort. It comes from alignment. And that alignment is energetic. Imagine a mind that doesn't seek approval, a heart that isn't distracted by applause, a human being who won't trade their vision for any comfort. That was Tesla, and that's why he was so unsettling. Because without saying a word, he showed that there's another way to live, another way to create, another way to exist. And when someone embodies that truth, everything around them begins to fall apart. Masks drop, lies become visible, systems shake. And that's why Tesla was silenced. But what the world tried to erase, consciousness reclaimed. More than a century has passed, but his ideas still shake the foundations of everything we believe about energy, time, space, and matter. Nikola Tesla is no longer here, yet his frequency still pulses. And maybe, just maybe, you feel it too. Have you ever dreamed of something so big, only to be called crazy? Have you ever had a powerful intuition, but let it fade away, afraid of looking strange? Maybe you're holding on to a vision that doesn't fit any mold. But what if it's because it doesn't fit that it's meant to be born? See, Tesla didn't have all the answers, but he trusted the right questions. He asked, what if energy is infinite? What if consciousness shapes reality? What if the impossible is just a collective illusion? He refused to accept inherited limits. He rejected ready-made truths. And maybe that's his greatest gift to us, the permission to think differently, to feel the invisible, to live from spirit, not scarcity. Tesla saw life as an endless field of possibilities. And he knew that to access them, you need courage. Courage to be alone. Courage to be misunderstood. Courage to keep going when no one is clapping. Because in the end, it's not about being understood. It's about being true. And a true life is worth more than 1,000 comfortable ones. Now breathe. Quiet your mind. Feel what inside you is asking to be born. What vision have you buried for fear of being rejected? What ideas have you tossed aside because no one else believed in them? Maybe you're here, listening to this now, because you carry an invisible mission too. And maybe what you needed to hear was simply this: you are not alone. Tesla faced it all, and he came through the other side. While the world chased after matter, Tesla silenced himself to listen to the invisible. He knew reality doesn't start with what you see. It begins with what you vibrate. Tesla called it the ether. Today, some call it the quantum field. Others say spirit, source, or universe. The name doesn't matter. What matters is access. And Tesla had access. He said every thought is like a wave. Every emotion, a frequency. Every human being, a living antenna. That's why he didn't limit himself to reason. He didn't think like everyone else. He felt like no one else. Before he designed any invention, he would visualize it fully in his mind, with details, movement, energy. And when it worked inside his mind, he knew it was ready for the world. That's how he created, from the inside out, from the top down, from consciousness to matter. And maybe what he did, you can do too, because Tesla wasn't a 1 in a billion miracle. He was simply an awakened example. Feel this. How many ideas have come to you only to be ignored? How many visions have crossed your mind? Visions so vivid, so real, they felt too big to be just imagination. What if they aren't just imagination? What if the universe is using you as a channel, and you simply doubted it? Tesla trusted the invisible. He knew the universe whispers ideas first, before it shouts them to the world. And these ideas don't come to just anyone. They come to those who are ready. But ready here doesn't mean perfect. It means available, open, aligned. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to listen. And that's exactly what Tesla did his entire life. He listened, even when the world was screaming for the opposite. That's why he didn't create through struggle. He created through inspiration, through faith. And faith, for Tesla, was an invisible science. He once wrote, "The gift of mental power comes from God, and when we concentrate our minds on that truth, we become magnets for the infinite." That was his true source, not technology, but the field. Higher consciousness. Imagine living like that. Creating, not out of pressure, but from expansion. Imagining something, and knowing that if you saw it, it already exists somewhere, on some plane, and that your mission is simply to bring it into form. Tesla lived in that state. Not all the time, of course, but enough to change the world. And now, maybe the question shifts. What if you could live like that too? What if the anxiety you feel is just the result of being disconnected from your source? What if scarcity, fear, comparison are just symptoms of forgetting where you come from? Tesla never forgot, even when he was alone, even when ridiculed, even when robbed. He knew his true wealth wasn't in any bank. It was in the field, and while the world slept, he dreamed awake. But listen closely. This way of living has a price, and Tesla paid dearly. He was betrayed, sabotaged, erased from history by economic interests. Why? Because those who connect to the source no longer need control. And those who no longer need control terrify those who live for power. The good news? The power they tried to bury is rising again. And maybe that's why you're hearing this now. Because it's time to remember. Time to reconnect. Tesla's frequency still vibrates, and you can tune in. Not with tricks, but with truth. With silence. With intention. With faith. And then there's a choice. Will you be just another voice echoing what's already been said? Or will you become the channel for what's yet to come? If you're ready, in the next chapter, we'll dive deep into the shadowed side of Tesla's journey. The shadows, the losses, the complete isolation, and the deepest spiritual awakening of his life. Because it's down there, at the bottom of that abyss, that he found his ultimate purpose. He saw the future, but the future didn't see him. Tesla walked the streets of New York, dressed in warm clothes, birds perched on his shoulders, and too many ideas buzzing in his mind. To the world, he was just an eccentric, a failed scientist, a madman lost in electric dreams. But inside, he still carried the entire universe. Because he knew, greatness isn't defined by appearances. It's defined by frequency. And despite everything, Tesla still vibrated at a higher pitch, but the price for that was loneliness. It wasn't just the banks that abandoned him. It was his friends, his investors, society itself. He was erased, silenced, forgotten. The man who once graced magazine covers now slept in borrowed hotel rooms, fed pigeons, and wrote about energy for no one. Yet, he kept going. Because it's not about fame. It's not about approval. It's about mission. And a mission is silent. You don't see it coming. It doesn't clap for itself. It doesn't ask for applause. It just calls. And once you answer, there's no turning back. Tesla answered early on, and he followed, even when the path crumbled beneath him. This is where the story shifts its tone. Because while the world saw ruin, Tesla saw rebirth. The more he lost, the more he shed. The more he was rejected, the closer he came to the divine. It was in the silence of the night, within the lonely walls of the New Yorker hotel, that Tesla began to write, not about machines, but about light, not about inventions, but about consciousness. He said everything is energy, everything vibrates, and the true science of the future would be spiritual, not in the religious sense, but in the universal sense, the science of the soul, the physics of faith. And here's one of Tesla's greatest secrets. He didn't just imagine the invisible. He listened to it. Tesla said his ideas didn't come piece by piece. They came whole, like someone whispering directly in his ear, like a higher intelligence guiding him in every detail, in every calculation, in every vision. Crazy? Maybe to the skeptics. But what if he was just one step ahead? What if loneliness wasn't a punishment, but a training ground? What if the silence he sought so desperately was the channel so many still fear today? Tesla wasn't afraid of death. He feared being forgotten. Not out of vanity, but because his mission was unfinished. He once said, "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 10 years than it has in all previous centuries combined." But no one listened. Until now, because today, something is waking up. Technology is speaking about frequency again. Medicine is returning to energy. Spirituality is reconnecting with the field. And Tesla is being remembered again, not for what he invented, but for what he accessed, what he intuited, what he channeled. Maybe you're hearing this now because you're standing at that same crossroads. Maybe you're walking through silence. Maybe you've been left behind. Maybe you've been called crazy. But what if all of that is part of your clearing? What if the loneliness that hurts you is the very thing that will align you? Tesla stepped away from the world to draw closer to the source. He died with little in his pocket, but with so much in his soul. And now the spark he lit might just be igniting inside you. So here's the question. Are you willing to lose the world to find your mission? Are you ready to silence the noise and listen to the call? If so, in the next chapter, you'll see how Tesla, even after death, keeps influencing everything around us. And more than that, how you can start applying his secret in your life, starting today. He died alone. On the night of January 7th, 1943, Nikola Tesla's body was found in room 3327 of the New Yorker hotel. The man who dreamed of electrifying the planet had become silence itself. No ceremony, no public tribute, no grand state funeral. Just the end of a body, because his mind had never died. The very moment his heart stopped beating, something began to pulse in the unseen. A frequency. Tesla didn't belong to his time, and maybe he still doesn't belong to ours. But he planted seeds, seeds of consciousness, seeds of truth, seeds that are only now starting to bloom. Decades later, engineers began dusting off his forgotten blueprints. Scientists started talking about resonance again. Entrepreneurs began dropping his name. And more than that, spiritual seekers started feeling his presence. Because Tesla wasn't just an inventor. He was a channel. A conduit between the visible and the invisible. Between heaven and earth. And now, that bridge is being rebuilt. Do you see it? He wasn't talking about electricity. He was talking about life force energy. He wasn't talking about machines. He was talking about consciousness. Every coil he built was a mirror of the mind. Every spark he generated was a reflection of the soul. And when he said, "If you want to understand the universe, Think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. He wasn't speaking in metaphors. He was handing us a map, a code, a secret. The same secret ancient sages spoke of. The same secret hidden in sacred texts. The same secret quantum physics is just beginning to prove. Everything vibrates. Everything is connected. Everything responds to your frequency. And here's the most important part. You are a transmitter too. You are an antenna. You are a creative field. But no one taught you that, because teaching this liberates. Tesla understood that the human mind is more powerful than any technology. And when aligned with the unseen, it becomes an unstoppable force. But that force only reveals itself when you are silent, when you surrender, when you tune in. Maybe that's why you're here right now, because your time to remember has come, to remember who you really are, to remember what you carry inside, to remember why you came here. You are not the character they invented for you. You are consciousness expanding. You are energy in motion. You are the channel. And the more you align, the more everything begins to make sense. Ideas flow, signs appear, the right people show up, and the world changes. Not because the world changed, but because you changed your frequency. Tesla left us a mirror, a quantum mirror. And when you look into it honestly, you don't just see Tesla. You see yourself, in your purest form, your most creative, your most connected. Tesla's greatest secret was never about an invention. It was a state of surrender, of tuning in, of listening. And that state is available to you right now. You don't need to understand it all. You just need to feel it. You just need to remember. Because in the end, Tesla's true legacy to the world is not found in books, nor in patents, nor in experiments. It lives in the invisible, in vibration, in the spark. And that spark is burning inside you right now. The real question is, will you keep searching outside yourself? Or will you begin to access it from within? In the final act, we'll reveal the hidden principles of Tesla's mind and how you can use them right now to awaken your own genius. They say every genius lives ahead of their time. But Nikola Tesla, he seemed to live outside of time altogether. While the world spun around logic, matter, and repetition, Tesla dwelled in another realm, a space between worlds, where imagination was more real than concrete, and the invisible, more powerful than any machine. He walked alone and in silence. Sometimes he'd stop in the middle of the street, close his eyes, and see gears, connections, frequencies, whole ideas, emerging as if whispered from a place beyond sight. Others called it madness, but he knew better. It was access. Tesla didn't invent, he received. He said it himself. My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. He didn't struggle to come up with ideas. He silenced himself and let them flow like waves, like whispers from the universal consciousness. And here lies the secret. The real secret behind Nikola Tesla's mind isn't electricity, patents, or wild experiments. It's the frequency he chose to inhabit. He didn't try to be a genius. He tried to be a channel. He didn't think with his mind. He thought with the field. Long before modern science, he understood that everything in the universe vibrates. And what you are is exactly what you tune into. That's why Tesla never lived in noise. He avoided parties, weddings, any worldly distractions, not out of arrogance, but by vibrational choice. He knew if he allowed the noise in, he'd lose the signal. Maybe this is the one thing we all forget along the way. Genius isn't about doing more. It's about listening more, feeling more, accessing more. Because the modern world wants to convince you that you have to run faster, prove yourself harder, fit in somewhere you don't belong. But Tesla lived the exact opposite. He stepped away, withdrew, turned inward. And there, in the silence between one thought and the next, he received codes, whole ideas, visions of the future, plans the world often wasn't ready to grasp. He talked about wireless energy, mental vibration, ether-powered engines, instant communication. And while they laughed at him, he kept writing, because he knew truth's timing isn't the world's timing. It's the timing of consciousness. What's even more remarkable is that Tesla didn't see this as talent. He saw it as access. Access anyone can have, but few allow themselves to reach. He said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Don't think effort. Think alignment. Don't think control. Think permission. Tesla didn't just want to change the outside world. He wanted to change the paradigm, the way we think, the way we connect, the way we understand ourselves. He believed the greatest power isn't in the atom. It's in the spirit, in the invisible field that connects everything, in the space between things, in the silent vibration of thought aligned with source. And that's why, even forgotten for decades, he never truly disappeared, because his energy never stopped vibrating. And now, maybe you're starting to feel what that means. Maybe you're tuning into something too. Something the world around you doesn't understand. Something that sometimes feels like madness. But deep down is memory. Memory of why you came here. Memory of your original frequency. Memory of who you are when you stop trying to be anyone else. Do you feel it? That restlessness? That quiet voice telling you there's more? That there's a kind of wisdom that doesn't come from books, but from within. Tesla wasn't a chosen one. He was an awakened one. And the only difference between the two is choice. The choice to trust what can't be seen. The choice to listen to what no one else hears. The choice to align with something greater, even if the world laughs, doubts, or ignores. Because in the end, those who change the world aren't the ones who fit in. They're the ones who remember. And maybe, right now, this very moment, you're beginning to remember. Remembering that your mind is more than a logical processor. It's an antenna, a transmitter, a portal. And what you call intuition, sudden ideas, or coincidence might just be the universe whispering the same thing it whispered to Tesla. Tune in, silence yourself, receive. Maybe you weren't born to repeat what already exists. Maybe you came here to reveal what no one has dared imagine yet. And yes, the world might doubt you. They might laugh. They might call you strange, crazy, a dreamer. But remember, they called Tesla the same. And now, more than a century later, his ideas still echo. Because when a message is born from source, no time can ever erase it. So if you felt something different watching this, if something stirred inside you, don't ignore it. Silence yourself, breathe, and listen. You might be closer than you think to accessing the invisible and transforming the world, starting with yourself. You don't need to be accepted. You need to be true. And the frequency of truth always finds its way to shine.